Hello and welcome to Designer Speak. I'm your host Christopher Scott, and today I'm joined by Nicolas Camacho and Santiago Gómez. Today we received a topic from David Shawe in Ireland, and he asks Designer Speak, can you be a designer without Photoshop? So, Santiago, what's your thoughts on this topic?
I think the most important thing here is like when you have the possibility to make a design without Photoshop. I know for a fact you need to use Photoshop, Illustrator, or all of these kind of programs.
That's like essential for a designer
to make the more easy your work. But for me, it's more important when you put your feelings on your own work. I mean, like when you make a draw with your hands without the computer.
You feel more connected to what you're doing.
Yeah, and you express that when you're making something to the people, because it's a huge difference between you're making, I don't know, a logo, and you use like a simple shape, and you make by your own, and you go back and you go to the computer and you make the shape in the computer, and the computer going to be perfect. But if you make it, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to communicate something for the audience.
I think that's an interesting point. I think that maybe Adobe is and the programs they have, for me they're good, they're a fine thing, but maybe the things are too perfect. You take away those human aspects of what make us human. Like what you said, if you draw a circle, it's like nearly impossible to draw a perfect circle, but that adds personality to what you're doing. But if you open up Illustrator and you can do a perfect circle instantly, and it's that combination is like, if I draw my circle on a piece of paper, that's part of me is in that drawing.
Yeah.
That's it's interesting though that whenever I do a conference or I do a workshop, I always say, and it's very controversial, this sentence is that any monkey can click a button.
Yeah.
And that, I think it's a strong opinion, but I think it's 100% correct, because anyone can go on the computer and click a circle and click typographies and these fonts and stuff like that. Anyone can do that, but what I love is like your sketchbook and open it up, and that tells me more about who a designer is, like sketches and your drawings, and that imperfection is part of being human. And it's like what you said, like sometimes like the computer just makes something that's too perfect.
Sometimes make perfect, and sometimes is the people what they think. It's more easier to make something in the computer than made by their own hand.
Yeah, that's obvious, but that's the thing, Santiago. I think that there's more, if you make something by hand and you make whatever you're making, logos or posters or whatever you want, but if you do it by your own hands, you feel like it's like, for me sometimes like the computer and the Adobe programs feels like I'm cheating sometimes.
Yeah.
It feels like it's like the difference between homemade food and going to McDonald's or KFC and all these places. Like if I do it by my hand, it's like eating homemade food by my mother. But if I go straight to the computer and don't do all the investigation and sketches, it feels like I'm going to McDonald's and getting fast food.
Yeah, it's so easy, more easier.
And it's more easy, but so like that hard work and that effort that you put into that making things by your hands and
the project
and the project in general, I feel that there's more value to that. I have no problem with the Adobe programs. I think they have a good place in design, but they should always be considered at the very last moment. It's like what we say in the other things, like you need investigation, you need your sketches, you need your knowledge, you need an understanding about the problem and the situation, and you can't do that on the computer. But at the end, I have no problem at all with when you have the solution to the problem. Okay, now you open up Illustrator, now you open up Photoshop, now you open up Premiere and InDesign, etc., and put that solution into the computer. But for Nicolas, what is your opinion on the topic that David
Yeah, I believe that Adobe is an amazing software.
True.
It's an amazing software, but the thing is not that you have the software, you're going to create a great design, or the software is going to make the designer. it's never the computer should never replace the designer.
True, true.
Like the computer is a tool.
That,
the person
that's
shouldn't
that's
be the
really, that's really important not to
yeah.
remember that. And people need to remember that design and Photoshop and Adobe is a tool.
Exactly.
And that's really important.
And the person shouldn't become the tool of the computer. I believe that design is in the mind, in the capacity to visualize something that doesn't exist and to change the reality, and actually understand that in reality everything is some form of design. If you look at nature, if you look at the laws of symmetry, if you look at the laws of the golden ratio, how things are created with a certain form of organization, how the laws of nature maintain itself, is some form of design. Humans have been designed imitating nature through history.
It's true.
And through that way, we have been able to evolve and to comprehend higher patterns of intelligence. We don't understand those patterns, but we create in base of those patterns. Like if you think about a spoon as an extension of your hand, if you think about the wheel, could be the extension of a foot or something else, like a rock. And whenever we see nature, we're learning. And I think in learning the design that is out there in the world, we can become better designers.
That's the thing, Nicolas, is like the design is just an extension. It's only like a tool of what we are as designers.
We are
Like
failing.
but the problem for me is when the designers rely and they depend
The
on
software to create something.
exactly. So like whenever you have we need to make a logo for a class or for a project for a client, the problem is that whenever it's like the computer and Adobe becomes everything for the designer. They need to understand, like what you said, is like it's only a tool, and you need to always remember that. And especially students need to always remember that.
But I think more than use the program, you need to learn how to observe. Because like you say, if you go to the nature, I 100% sure most of the people, they don't look the leaves, they don't look the grass, they don't look the clothes, they don't look the animals, they don't take care about it. But we, as a graphic designer, we need to take care, we need to observe these little parts, and we use with our hands or with a photography to create something. So for me, the Photoshop, the Illustrator, is a tool, like I agree with you, but I think more than a tool, the student and the people, the designers, needs to realize that they need to create something with your hand, with your own hand, ways to transmit something more than you create something perfect in the computer.
That's the thing. Like whenever with my students and when I'm doing workshops and stuff, like I try to say to the students, like whenever the objective of when I do a workshop is, okay, I don't want a room with computers. I never want a room with computers. Maybe at the last 1 hour or 2 hours of the workshop, yes. But so like the students walk in, and I ask them always to bring materials like paints, crayons, different materials for creating things with their hands. And I always say that to them, and they go, "Wow, that's amazing!" Because it's something they think that you can't make design with all those materials.
But we need to think something. We need to be clear in this question. They're asking if you can be a designer without Adobe programs.
I think you can, because
Yes, but I want to ask you something. How you are going to create a logo, and how you going to use the logo if not that is a vector?
But that's the thing, Santiago. Like 30 years ago or 40 years ago, there was no technology, no
Yeah,
Adobe,
but what
but
they
they used their drawing. They used
Yeah.
drawing, and say for example, like the original Coca-Cola logo, I'm sure was painted by hand, and then if you wanted a sign, a billboard, then they had to paint by hand again.
Yeah.
Obviously, all these things are more difficult, but obviously, like I think a modern designer, obviously the technology is important, but it's not everything. So I think you can be a designer now without Adobe, but obviously it makes things more difficult, makes things
More
more
difficult,
complicated.
and in the real world, how much you going to pay for a person? I mean, in Ecuador, you pay for a logo like 800, maybe 500.
All depends, but yeah.
All depends of the client, obviously. But if you made all of this, the logo, the campaign by hand, not going to cost 800, going to cost $3,000.
Yeah, that's you have to think.
So
take that into
it is,
consideration as well.
I think it's a good point to talk, because you need to realize in the modern world is obviously you need the programs to be a graphic designer. For me, I think yes, you can be a graphic designer without Adobe, but if you're going to eat of your work, you're going to need to put the bread on your table. So you need to
You need those elements to make things design faster and to produce it. What's your final thoughts on this, Nicolas? Do
Yeah.
you think that you can be a designer without a Photoshop?
Extending a little bit more the concept, I believe that we need software to enhance our ideas. Like for example, you're trying to think about a modeling of something, you need to probably create this in certain 3D program to be able to visualize all the aspects and have certain measures about it, maybe to be able to share with other people and to be able to collaborate with other people around the world. So of course the software that we have on the computers is a tool, but it's a powerful tool.
It is powerful.
It's going to keep evolving, but at the same time it's never going to replace the designer. It's never going to replace the dreamer, the visualizer, the person who can understand the world and is questioning what is the world and how do things work. And when you understand how things work, you can recreate those things and elevate, extend those things to make it like something more, a bigger kind of reality.
Okay, I think that was a very nice discussion. Thank you very much to David Shawe from Ireland for the really interesting question, and it's very important, this question, especially in this modern world. The final thoughts would be, I think that technology is important, but like what Nicolas says, is that you have to always remember that Adobe is a tool. So always remember that, and don't always rely on technology to make your designs. Always remember that your hands are really important as well, your brain, your heart, and you can put those things into design and not always rely and go, oh, I need a project, I'm going to upload Adobe or Illustrator, because design is more than that. Design is your thinking, your process, your passion, all these things. It's not more than that. But thank you very much to Nicolas Camacho and Santiago Gómez for joining me today. Thank you very much to our production team, Dade Rabbit. Please like our Facebook page or go on our YouTube and subscribe to our videos, and you can get Designer Speak sent to you every week. And go to our website, designerspeak.org, and enjoy all that fun stuff and all our new episodes, our production, photos, and all those things. Thank you very much for joining us here today. We are Designer Speak. Goodbye.
See you guys.